Flex Lewis here, Straight Outta The Lair. Alright guys, we're back. Straight Outta The Lair, episode 6, with a little bit of a different flair. Today I'm joined by my wife, co-host, Alison Lewis, Ali Lewis. What we're going to do here today is kind of an improv too, right?
Sure.
A little bit of a different spin on what we normally do. Only because we read the comments and I know what I really get consistently asked.
On your Q&As?
In my Q&As. And that is really life with my wife, relationship stuff, and all of the above. Business, etc., and balance. And before all you guys kind of turn off right now, we're going to be talking about a lot of different subjects. But kind of the one subject that keeps on popping up time and time again, and it popped up literally, about 30 minutes ago, is why we kind of jumped on you and thought, you know what, it would be a good little segment for us to kind of open the can of worms. And then from here on in, the comments below can really flow us into the next one, is talking about relationships and bodybuilding.
Right. And how to be supportive, or I guess to have someone, the other half, be supportive. So it's not necessarily the woman supportive of the guy. It could be the opposite, right? A woman is involved in the sport and wants her significant other to be supportive or involved. Would you say that's the question, or that's what you get?
Well, kind of the question I was literally just asked is, how can I get my significant other, girlfriend, wife, to be supportive in this new hobby, in this new sport that I'm getting myself into? You know, how many times have we known relationships to go tits up when, you know, a guy gets into the sport or actually meets a girl that is not privy to the gym, doesn't understand the ins and outs, obviously physically attracted to this one person. Again, we can flip the role here. It could be a woman meeting a guy, but let's just keep it on the bodybuilder male side of things. They meet a girl, you know, they everything is going great, and then prep starts.
Oh, yeah.
So how, I think I'll spin this question to you from the get-go. It's like, what advice would you give to a young teenager who's now entering the gym, really enjoying this new sport of his? He's there, he's dedicated, he's every single day. His girl doesn't go to the gym and is kind of sitting from the outside in and asking them questions like, why you go to the gym every day? You know, what would be the advice to kind of help that relationship out?
I mean, it's a loaded thing.
Improv. I know this is
because with me and you, I already loved the gym, right? So I was already part of that, like the gym culture and the competing culture. But I mean, I think in general, the best way to, you know, get someone's support is to not say, oh, you don't understand or you wouldn't get it. It's to try to include them or educate them. I think that's like the first thing. Because what I first think of, to be honest, is not a significant other. I think of like your parents. If you're a teen, right? Yep. Because you brought up a teen, not like an adult, right? Or not a older adult, is getting them to understand why you have to weigh your food and why you have to get up early and do cardio. And, you know, they all think this is my thing. I remember I had to go through this in a past relationship. I would want to get up and eat and do cardio. And I was always told, why? You're pretty, you're this. It's like, it's not about that. You know, it's like, there's more benefits to getting up and doing cardio or getting up and eating healthy or setting a goal. Okay, so if you take away the physicality aspect of it and not make it such a vanity thing and really educate people on, well, this is good for me. It's structure, it's discipline, I'm eating healthy. I want to attain a goal. So I think that is something that if you preface it like that this is a goal, and it's no different than you wanting to get a promotion at your job, right? Or it's no different than you trying to set a goal to do something. I think that's the start of it, is really trying to educate those people around you as to, it's not just about vanity, right? I mean, why are you doing it? You have to ask yourself that question, right? And then you have to include them in it. And I think when it's a significant other, going to the gym together, you don't necessarily have to train together. Maybe getting them involved in the gym and saying, here, you should come try it out, or take a class, or things like that, you know, would would allow them to understand why you're doing it. But I know with us, it was a little different because, you know, if we're talking about a competitive situation, obviously I was involved in the sport already, but, you know, I think the best way is first and foremost is to educate them, you know, and make them be a part of it. So maybe you go food shopping together, maybe you cook together, you know, maybe you go to the gym together. Those are things that you can do where, yeah, they don't have to compete, right, to understand your lifestyle. But, you know, it is hard. You also have to be real with them and maybe let them know. We talk about like these things like the love language. Everyone has their thing that they need, right? Some people it's touch. Some people it's just, you know, a nice little note left for them. Like each person has their own thing they need. So maybe saying like, in order for you to support me, I would just need you to do this, right? Because every person is so different and their needs are so different. Maybe they don't want them to come to the gym with them, right? Because that's like their time where they shut off. They don't want distractions. They don't want to see their girl or their guy. Like maybe that's not a good suggestion that I said that, right? So I think it's finding out what that kind of support level that person needs from the other person, right? Is to me the best way is has to come from the individual. They need to say the best way to support me is this way. And that's a personal thing.
Well, we're talking about an off season right now. Imagine contest time. That's a whole different animal and a whole different intensity. And I can tell you from my perspective and dating girls at a very young age, it's very difficult to have a relationship, still chase your goals, still have these competitive goals that you want to really do. And then with me in the off season, I'm a completely different guy to the contest time. You know, you're
right.
going out, you're eating your food. You can kind of incorporate like cinema, and you can incorporate cheat meals. But when it comes to contest time, you're in a complete different routine, and that's where, you know, girls, especially where they don't train or have any kind of industry knowledge, that's where things start to happen. And then, of course, it's the wrong time to happen because you want everything to be so focused and so ground out there. You don't want to be having relationship issues, and then that just festers and festers, you know. And going back to when I was 19, I met this lovely girl. It was in college. It was the kind of the start of my whole bodybuilding, you know, lifestyle, I guess. And it was very hard for her, to see this known rugby player, unknown as such, who had a physique, to then be going to do his first bodybuilding show, and the commitment I had to show during that process. You know, I just couldn't pop to your house at this time because I had to train.
When you had to wake up,
I had to eat all my food, and I had to do this and that. And again, I was still kind of turning the dial in terms of how dedicated I was getting. From the get-go, I treated every single prep, you know, as if it was a Mr. Olympia prep, right? Even though I didn't even know that this was going to turn into what it is. But I think that's one of the reasons why I did, right? But my relationships from the early age, I didn't know how to balance. And I think what I've seen guys destroying their relationships is just down to lack of communication and having the conversations with their girlfriends, be like, listen, I know this is kind of new for us both. I really need your support in this. You know, this is something I want to pursue, at least for this next show, and see where it goes. And I'm speaking more on the guys that have done, maybe doing the first show, done a few shows,
right,
where balance is lacking, right? And then, well, say you even have, you know, relationship issues going into prep, you know, you're only going to magnify that stuff. But going back and looking at what I kind of done wrong was, I kind of had that attitude. It's like, well, this is what I want to do, and, you know, fuck you if you don't want to back me up.
Well, it's a selfish sport, let's be honest. But honestly, anything you get into, there's a little bit of selfishness you have to have. But letting that other person know, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how you can fit into it, that goes to communication, right? Exactly. Yeah. But on that topic, though, I just remember, obviously, our situation, like I said, was different because I was in this world already, right? So it was a little easier. I was a poster
on the wall, too, of yours, wasn't I?
No.
Let me tell my stories.
Fine. Yes, you were a poster on my wall. So I just remember what worked with us at a certain point was I would sympathy diet,
Yes, you
remember
would.
that? So
Yeah.
and it was good for me because I wasn't competing anymore.
Yeah.
And it was our way of, if you got to cheat, I got to cheat. There was no logic to my cheating or the reason why I had to. It was just because Neil told you, you can have a cheat meal, and it became fun, right? It became something that we could do. And if it was like, oh, I can get a dessert tonight, then I would make you the brownies and ice cream. We learned that it's probably really bad for your stomach issues. But either way, that was something that I decided to do to support, because there's nothing worse than me wanting to go out to eat or do something and can't, or doing it with someone else. So my level of support was just to kind of ride the train with you, right? And I called it sympathy dieting, and we did it every single Olympia that you did. Obviously, when I was pregnant, no, but that's the way that I should support. But either way, yeah, I agree. I think if you're new to this and the other person's not involved, it's communicating. But you as a person, whoever is the person who is competing, right, or getting into this, girl or guy, needs to communicate what they would want or need, or it's just not going to work at all, because prep is hard. And there were days that I couldn't stand you, but that is part and parcel, because I've done it, you know? So I would just be like, okay, it's Prep Lewis. Like, that's it.
That name is going to come up time and time again.
That
Prep
is who
Lewis.
we're dealing with. But then we've also grown together as a couple. Like, it's been 10 years we've been together. There's been preps that have been worse than others. There's been, you've had training partners. There's just been so many dynamics to it that each prep was different. But I think ultimately what worked for us is communication, and then it spun into how can I be even more involved was the branding and business aspect of it.
Yeah.
So that's a little different than, I'm getting started in this sport. How can you be supportive? I saw a gap in how I could help you, how I could take a load of stress off of you. And that's how I kind of got involved in your business and the brand of what is Flex Lewis. Ultimately, we created your logo together. I mean, we've done a lot of things together, but that was my decision, right? That wasn't like what I would suggest everyone to go do, like make a brand out of your significant other, or help them build their brand or support them in their brand. That's just something I saw a hole in and wanted to help. And it, through the years has grown. But
you've seen me as a cash cow, and you're gonna fucking get this
exactly. Exactly.
No, but all jokes aside, when you and I got together, first of all, obviously, two different, upbringings, right?
Yeah.
Your mum and dad obviously have done a phenomenal job with you, and dad being a very successful doctor in his world, and your mum, obviously, she's fucking best. Everybody who knows your mum, we all love her, and she was a stay-at-home mum with your kids. But you were raised obviously completely different in the US compared to us, me in Wales, and that's what really I think links us together, is such differences. And it's it was exciting for us both when we both got together. You had never had a Christmas time at all, being obviously Jewish.
Yeah.
You had your first Christmas when we got together, and I've experienced now all these Jewish holidays, which I never had, had growing up. But with that being said, and that's kind of side from all the relationship thing, and topic we can talk about another time, but what kind of got us together from the get-go, and I realized, wow, this girl is special outside of, the cliche stuff, was how you looked at what I was doing and you said, hey, listen, I don't want to put my nose in this, but you go in the wrong way about this. And I just remember myself, my brother was living with me at the time. We had probably about, God knows, about 50, 60, 70 packages, all strewn all over the floor of my apartment, and we were handwriting every one of these
customs forms.
Customs forms,
that's what they were.
exactly.
Oh,
and of course, if you guys have ever done that, you one letter or one number away from it being sent back, and it was an absolute nightmare. But we'd done it for so long, and it was kind of like systematic. I just got used to it. And then you come along, it's like, listen, honey, there's something called Shopify where automatically data gets put in, and then you hit this button and
the label prints out.
Of course, I had heard of this, but I didn't realize that, technology had allowed us to, go full circle and be able to do this at the touch of a fingertip. I was doing a lot of things from, again, the long distance. You came in and you were like, no, you can get this printer. You can buy it from Office Depot. I'm going to do it for you. Let me help you set it up. And then you kind of like put your, I know, your special touch on that genre of my business. And then I was like, what else can this girl do?
But realistically, you know,
rock the bedroom.
Yeah.
And she was with the business side. You kind of, sorry, not to jump in, but then you went, right, I also see this. Because you were coming in from a very, I would say not neutral, but from one foot in the industry, but also coming from your background and obviously your schooling.
Right.
You've seen things from a different set of eyes. And because I was so focused on, you know, my world and no, this is how everybody does this, and I never came up to explore other options. And I was so routinely used to going on the road, coming back.
Well, doing it on your own too.
Yeah, to this massive bunch of orders, and people starting to complain because they hadn't got the orders.
Yeah.
Because it was just so time consuming. And then you said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then in the end, you done so much change that we kind of had to be like, wow, if we've done this in such a short space, what else can we do together? And this is how really, you know, us as a relationship blew up faster than ever. You know, we got together fast, I would say. But there were so many things that we kind of clicked on. We're so similar in many regards and so different in others. And when it came to business, we both fire on us on the same cylinders there, right? And I like that. You know, there's not many girls that, there was no girl that I had dated ever that had any type of business savviness to them. And that was a massive attraction to me, you know. And anyway, I wanted to jump in what you were going to say.
No, I mean, I think initially it was very hard for you to let go of any reins.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And then I just was like, this, you can't be going and doing this the way you're doing anymore. Yeah. So it didn't happen overnight. You weren't just like, yeah, sure, do this. No. You know, it did take some coaxing and time to be like, all right, you know, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right. That's when we started, you know, people weren't paying you as a person. They're going to pay a company name. You know, that's where it started, like, you know, right off the start from like from a business branding, a brand building and business sense that you were a business. Yeah. You were a person, of course, but you were a business. And so that's kind of how I looked at it, as let's just start this way. And, you know, yes, it started with the orders, and then it just kind of escalated into, okay, well, you have these contracts. Let's start running your life as a business, and then treating the sport. It's a business for you. You know, this wasn't just a hobby. It turned into a full-fledged business and something that you wanted to carry out and see where it went. And so, yes, from that point on, it was not what I like signed up to do necessarily. I was like, oh, I'm just going to help you out. I'm going to start this, set it up, set the Shopify. Someone else, we can hire someone and you could just do your thing. I was in school for nutrition at the time. Yeah. I graduated my undergrad from University of Florida with a business degree, and then I went into nutrition. So there was and I got my master's in nutrition and a registered dietitian. So yes, there's a lot of overlap that happened.
See, she wants to jump out. She wants to leave all the good parts out, Bronson.
But to say the least, you know, I went through my whole schooling, and I just kept seeing like, all right, you know, at the end of the day, you don't want anyone just to handle your money, your finances, or your life. And at this point, we were living together. So it just kind of fell in my lap, and we just went with it, right? And we are here today, and we do work together, and we do totally different things. You know, I'm very admin based. You are obviously the face. You can stand an hour's worth of lines. I could not do that to save my life. So there's a nice balance there. But what ultimately happens is we communicate and saying like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm supportive of what you have to do. Mm-hmm. But it does take some learning, right? Like my first expo with you, that was a learning curve because
FIBO?
When is FIBO before Body Power? Yeah. Yes. But that was like, the first one I really worked with you was Body Power.
That's true, yeah.
Like truly worked. Yeah, I remember your brother had to teach me how to write the pound sign. Oh. He'll remember this.
What
I
is
was like,
this?
how do I write? And then like, what's quid? Why are they saying quid versus pounds? You know, like it was cool. It was a great experience, but there was just so much that we had to, you know, grow and learn together, but it all stems from communication, like you said, and you telling me, all right, when I'm at an expo, this is what I need from you.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think you need to do, like this is what I need from, like, I'm a person, between like the food, the water, the just, you know, coming up and asking for this or that, or taking pictures for me, or like there was ways that you had to incorporate me where I wasn't just like on the side, right? Like you needed me and I needed you. So there was that symbiotic kind of relationship there.
And even with that too, you had to learn that when I become Flex Lewis,
Oh yeah.
it's a different guy.
Yes.
And it's not me like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, baby, that wasn't me, that was Flex. You know, that's not the alter ego here. It's more of the, when I turn the switch and I'm on a booth and I'm working, you know, I'm just intense getting things done. I'm very autopilot. I'm very there in the moment. I want to talk to every fan and give my honest and opinion, or, you know, just make that chat, that experience so enjoyable. And that's one of the reasons why we have such amazing lines all around the world. You know, that 2-hour line in let's just, since you mentioned the Body Power, you know, the guy at the back or the girl at the back, obviously looking at this line, it's like, oh my God, you know, he's talking forever, but then they get that exact same experience 2 hours later with the same energy. But at the end of the day, I am absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
I put so much into it because I'm consciously there. And again, I'd rather train for 6 hours than, you know, talk for 6 hours. But it sounds, it's easy. But no, when you're talking and stimulating different conversations.
Right, it's not the same conversation.
Yeah. So I know this is kind of all over the place a little bit, but it's like what we've done to grow as a relationship. And I just don't want to go all over the place. I think with the answer to what the question was, and I told this young kid earlier that I spoke to, is education, knowledge, and involving your significant other on the process. I've also seen the significant other get involved in the sport, and in some cases become better than the actual guy who got the girlfriend in the sport. So if I was to have somebody sitting right opposite me right now, I would say all of the above I just mentioned. Additionally, to find people in the sport that both of you can gravitate to. I'm going to mention my very good friend, Dana Lane Bailey. Dana is an amazing athlete, but she is a better personality. And she's Miss Olympia, but what I'm saying by that is it's no disrespect. In fact, it's a bigger compliment. She is unbelievable to her fans. Her and her husband, obviously Rob Bailey, have the brand Flag No Fail. And when I became friends with them in the early stage, I noticed that there was a lot of guys at her seminars. And it was mind-blowing because it's like, wow, this is not at the time Miss Olympia she was training for, but she was a very big personality on YouTube, right? She had a great look, you know, she was an energy bunny, etc., etc. And her husband, Rob, obviously comes from a production background. And he obviously put some amazing videos on her in the early days, hard training, she'd done some collaborations and stuff. But that was really a way for these guys to get their girls involved in the sport, because I looked around and I was like, that's fucking interesting. All these guys were not really Dana Lynn Bailey fans if they weren't there, if it wasn't for their significant other. But what they done as an entry point, they brought their girls in and said, hey, listen, babe, this is a girl you should follow.
Yeah.
And then by proxy, she got involved. She started following Dana, loved what Dana was doing, because it's not hard, you know, not to love Dana, right?
Yeah.
And then the guys then would invest in that. They took the girls to the seminars. They
because it's a brand thing too.
Yeah, they brought them the shirts. They brought them the, you know, they became their thing. Again, maybe the girls didn't follow anybody else, but it was their thing to do together. And because Dana is such, like I said, that bubbly character, at her seminars, she was asked many, many questions, and I've been privy to a lot of these things because I've been on many seminars with her about relationships, and they always would give great relationship advice. because obviously she was competing, Rob wasn't.
Yeah.
But he was supporting her from filming her, the YouTube stuff. Yes, they trained together in the gym, but they were together as kind of gym training partners, and then they would do the brand on top and everything else. Anyway, they got a great story. If you guys don't know about them, which if you don't, you're hidden under a rock. There's a lot of stuff out there, and they've spoken about many of these topics we're speaking about in the past too.
What about if they don't like what you do and they don't understand it? Do you try to make them understand?
If somebody doesn't like the sport, is that what you're asking, Bronson? By the way, that's not a...
But they're having a hard time understanding. Do you push them?
That's very difficult because I've been in that relationship and it doesn't last. I tried, and what happens is once your fire starts being, what's it called, extinguished, something that gives you so much passion daily, and you wake up and you think about working out, and that used to be me when I was young. That oh my God, I can't wait until 5 p.m. I got to go to the gym. But then when you have a girlfriend
or a boyfriend,
or a boyfriend, I don't like this stuff. The gym is, you're always in the gym, or this and the other, and then you try.
Or why do you have to get up early to do cardio?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in that same situation,
yeah.
and so to answer it too is, it won't work. You could do what we say and communicate and try to involve them and try to say, well, this is why I'm doing it. And once you say it so many times, you're like, well, you're just raining on my parade. And I don't want to be with someone who is not understanding. They don't have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But if you can't respect that what I'm doing makes me happy, because a lot of people, I think their issue is, why are you doing this? It doesn't make you money.
Yeah.
Like it's always like about a money thing. It's like, well, what is that giving you? It's like physically giving you anything. And it's like, but it is. It's making me freaking happy. It's giving me endorphins. It is making me. They look at it, I think, from a vanity standpoint, and or like, well, there's no point. It's not paying this bill. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to pay the bill. If it makes me happy and I'm happy to be around, you should support that. So I think ultimately you can try to educate and do all those things. And if someone can't wrap their head around being supportive of you being what makes you happy, then they're not right for you.
Bitch.
Yeah. See ya. But, and that happens. I mean, I think that makes the next relationship better, or you see the signs, right? So you kind of you need to go through these relationships to know
that's true.
What worked, what didn't work, and maybe it was you. Maybe you shouldn't have been in a relationship at that point. It doesn't have to be the other person. And maybe later on it will work because you have probably gone through, if I met you when you first did your first show, and I was that first girlfriend, and, you're a different person then. So I think you grow as an athlete, as a person, as an individual. You learn how to communicate better after certain relationships. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of a lot that goes on there. So it's like if you explain it and you educate and they're not about it, then you got to move on until, it is the right time and it might not be with them.
Yeah. We, again, we have a very unique relationship, right? And we did meet each other whilst I was competing. You...
Just stop.
Yeah, you're kind of in limbo right now. And to give you some back context too, when I first met Ali, and I'm sure this conversation is going to be asked again. We won't do it right now. How do we meet? We'll do that again. But one of the first times I kind of locked eyes on Ali was when she was backstage at the New York Pro, which she ended up winning. And I didn't.
2011.
Jose Raymond came in on the sneaky 1 point win in the end of the New York Pro. But no, it was one of them scenarios like, wow, you had won. I was obviously fighting for the first place. I thought I had won. But everything happens for a reason, right? We kind of, I don't know if we had a conversation back there or whatever else, but you have your own stories about how you've seen me in the past. We'll talk about it, in the future episodes. But that was the first time, I seen you, and then later on we had, our kind of first conversation that kickstarted our relationship, and it's a fun story, the how we met. Yeah. And that's again for another time. But I wanted to circle back on this, and this is a question, and maybe this is the last one of the relationship stuff today. What girl or guy this again, sorry, the kind of taking my time to ask this question, but I'm trying to think how I can place it better. Is it best, here we go, is it best to date a guy, stroke girl, that actually competes or not competes? What is your preference on that? And I'll give you mine.
I think competes.
Why? What are the benefits and what are the cons?
Jeez. Well, I mean, the benefits are that you take away the need to educate and inform about the industry, right? So there's an instant, they understand.
Yeah.
So there's benefits to that because they could be supportive in ways that they know what they would need as a competitor, right? So there's that certain level that you've just like jumped. But then the con of it, I guess, is if you're not balanced enough in that industry, which it's very easy to be super selfish, right? Like we're all selfish, and you compete, and it's a very subjective sport. It's really, you're constantly looking at your body. You feel like you're never good enough to a degree, right? And not good enough in the sense of as a person, but you want to always like strive for this goal. And so the problem is you're like constantly dealing with this world. And usually people don't prep necessarily at the same time. So then it'd be like a constant prep, right? That would be like the con of it, is that you're like, if you're done, well, where are they? You can't enjoy. And there's this constant like, well, there's no enjoyment of the relationship because you're both doing a sport, but you're on different time preps, right? Yeah. I know I've been in a relationship with someone who wasn't competing and they just don't get it, and it becomes, if they're not a supportive person in it, it's like I said, they're raining on your parade. Yeah. They can't understand that this makes you happy, and they can't just be supportive of it. So I would lean more towards the competitor, because then at that point you can change your schedules, maybe do preps at the same time, or maybe you realize as a couple, doing them at the same time is not good because you can't be there for one another. So there is this dichotomy of like what is better. I think it also boils down to like the people's personalities, because I know a lot of couples that prep together, and it's the best thing. Yeah. It's like, honestly, it works. It works. And I know for us, I always said to myself, I don't know if I could be in prep when you were, because I knew what you needed and I wouldn't be able to focus on myself and give you what you needed at the same time. That's just like our relationship and how we work as people. Yeah. And my way of being involved was like, I enjoyed cooking your food at one point.
Hell, when the hell was this? When's this? 2017?
No, but you know what I mean? Like I enjoyed the meal prep because it wasn't like hyper focused on like, well, I need this meal and then I need to balance you. So that was my way of being involved, but not competing at the same time. So I would choose that.
I would probably say somebody who is involved with the sport, trains and takes care of their body. For me, I've been in relationship with girls who don't train, which was fine, but then when they don't look after themselves, that's a very pet peeve thing for me. If you can't look after yourself with food, and again, coming from the UK, everybody lives for the weekends, right? So I used to date a lot of girls. Yeah, I did date before you. I dated many different girls that trained, didn't train, whatever. What I found was when I got more involved with the sport, I found that the girls who trained got it. The cliche questions were never asked. But I also dated some absolute nut job basket case bikini girls. And them some of the craziest girls I have ever come across in my life, only because I'm not speaking about the whole bikini division. Before I get lynched and you guys come after me, I have a lot of bikini friends. But some of the girls that I dated back then who I met exterior-wise, beautiful. But then when you were in the presence of them for more than a day, you realize it's like, Jesus. And some of these girls are thinking that when they win a show, this fucking $1 million contract's going to come, and they have to do this and they have to. And I was like, wow, you guys are like nuts, And again, I want to kind of dig myself a hole here, but I'm only speaking from preference and experience. From experience. And with the girls that I have dated who compete, I find that I think the girls who just want to compete or have competed, it's a good relationship. The ones who are kind of hardcore into it, that have kind of the craziest goals and the dreams to be Miss Olympia or whatever else, it's not going to work in my eyes, because there's two alphas in the house and you're both fighting for that attention, right? And if you ask me about me being balanced and everything else, I'm not that guy, right? But it comes with a role. And if you are trying to have this role and this position in the sport and your significant other is always being talked about over you, I see that as a massive issue. I've seen it happen where guys and girls get together. It's like, oh my God, this is the dream couple. This girl is winning this and this guy's winning that. Doesn't last, because there's the ego starts getting fueled, and it's just wild. And I'm not going to mention names, but we can all probably relate to one couple that's done that. You and I met when you had competed and then you were focused on your schooling. So you were still living the lifestyle. I think you were still working. You were working with Kim Odo at the time, and you were still doing your cardio, and you were getting all your meals in, and you were cooking for the day. And that's when we got together. And I was like, wow, this girl is got her shit together. She's going to school. She's got a balanced life. She's business savvy. She's very family orientated. She loved, things that we were involved with. But you also loved the gym, and there was never an issue. And to this day, you've never asked me, how long are you going to be at the gym? Well, recently with the baby, but not in the sense of like, hey, this is causing a relationship issue because you're training for the Olympia. It never happened. But when the time came for you to jump back on stage, and obviously you've, as much as you don't like to talk about it, you've had a great career. You won the overall Miss USA. You won the Jacksonville Pro. You won the New York Pro, and you won, what else was it else?
Well, that's the thing. I got 6 at Olympia.
Yeah. You already had a successful career and in the prime of it, and then you decided to focus on schooling, and it kind of worked for us. I would love to have seen you back on that stage, and if us both dieting the same time happened, I don't think it would have been an issue. But you chose to focus on me, which was incredible, and I didn't realize then why. But you put all kind of stock into me and kind of live vicariously through me competing. And then as the sport changed in bikini, you decided obviously just to focus on the business endeavors that we have and go full force there. So I guess in kind of wrapping this whole thing up, and I don't know if you want to add to what I was saying, you got to just find what works for you, right?
Yeah.
There's guys and girls out there that are absolute basket cases that love to diet together because they're crazy in love, and they work and they make it work, and they are together to this day. And then there's some people who, have different goals and different dreams, and one person is super business and super focused on stuff, and the other person is very lazy and unmotivated and etc. And to me, I've had that relationship too. And that person was 1 foot in the sport, 1 foot out. So it's just finding somebody that you click with, finding somebody that ticks your buttons. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to compete or not. And if they don't compete, then work on educating that girl, that guy, on why this means so much to you.
And how they can support.
And have
I think that's, but communicating with them what you need from them so that you all can do your different things, but be there for each other. And I think that's ultimately, that goes with anything in relationship is communication. But I think that's the best form of advice, is communicate how you want to be supported. Some people might say, I don't want you to touch my food. I want you to cook all my food. I mean, whatever it is, you just need to communicate. Yeah.
And then again, work on that other person's goals and dreams too, because it has to be a two-way street.
Correct.
What you supported with me, I flipped around and was like, okay, babe, what do you want to achieve in life? What is it that you want to do? And of course, we've been able to now, over the last 10 years, build a business, then transitioned into building a family. And we've been able to tick so many milestones off by working together. And listen, there is no fucking, skipping down the street with fucking birds chirping and every time, it's not harmonious. It's not going to be a picture perfect relationship. One of the things that I fucking hate is people hashtag goals. It's like, yo, the people who are kind of professing their love and milking it online are probably the ones that have either fucked up and done something shady, or they're kind of making up for lost ground, right? Unless you know that person. But if all of a sudden you see a post from one of your boys, it's like, you know, professing his love for his girl, you know somebody's in the doghouse, right? But in our case, we've always stayed true to our morals and integrity. We've made sure that our goals have been nurtured. And we've also made sure that when one of us is not dragging, but one of us is needing that kick up the ass, as much as that person does it or doesn't want to hear it, it's told.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's times where I was like, come on, babe, you can do this. It's like, and you say something to me, and I'm like, listen, I wouldn't be here wasting my time if I didn't think you can do this. And the role is reversed too.
Yeah.
There's times when I've got up in the morning, and even though I'm doing it, you know, I'm tired. I remember a few times where in the Coconut Creek house, I'm sitting on the ledge right in front of the fire, and I'm putting my shoes on, and I'm absolutely fucked. And you come out, and you put your hand on my shoulder, and you rub my shoulder, and it's like, you can do this, babe.
Yeah.
And whether you know that or not, you know, that to me was, you know, that was like, you know, 200 milligrams of caffeine right there, you know, and off I went. Having that support, you know, in good times and bad is a massive part. And you know, even though this is kind of crazy improv, you know, we decided to talk about it only because one of the kids outside asked me, and it's been happened twice this week, about us being asked questions about relationship. I thought we'd just jump on you guys and talk about it. So I think in rounding all this up, you know, if this is something that you'd like to, I guess, build upon,
or
contribute to, you know, or see this kind of sector build upon, you know, just leave comment below, ask some questions, and we can answer them questions in the future episode. You know, us here at the Dragon's Lair, we're here every single day. You know, we are very
hands-on.
Yeah, we're very excited to be doing the podcasts.
Yes.
And if we can contribute and do something else that is very meaningful, and you guys get something from, then we'll do it. And again, today, if this ends up not being something, then you won't fucking see us two again talking about it. But if this is something you guys enjoy, then comment below, ask some questions, and we'll keep this going, you know, whether it's relationship, business, whatever.
Family, life.
Family. It's like us two talking. And again, I don't really know of a top professional bodybuilder that is being as open as what we're talking about right now, and kind of being vulnerable in some questions. So I'm prepared to do this, guys, if you guys are prepared to hear myself and my wife keep talking about this. So that wraps everything off, guys. Episode 6, Straight Out The Lair, whatever we end up calling this segment, we'll
put it right here.
We'll put it underneath. In fact, comment below, guys. Let's give this thing a segment if you like this, and we'll continue the role and ask questions, and we'll see you on the next episode. Out.